Vinita ma'am, thank you and welcome once again to Prana Stories.
So happy to be back here, Praveen. Thank you for having me at your studio once again. Let's start with a small invocation
Sure.
on Guru Purnima Day.
Yeah.
Auspicious day. Greetings to everyone. Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashante Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Matre Namaha.
Sri Matre Namaha. Wow. So, the audience who have not seen your earlier podcast where you have spoken about yourself and about touched upon few concepts of Sri Vidya, the Sri Chakra, the Yantra and the Mantra, they should go check out the earlier podcast, which is in 2 episodes, which is there on my channel. Please do go check out that. What are we going to talk about today? We'll divide this into like 2 or 3 segments. One is the most sought after, or the most, the ubiquitous namavali which people do, which is the Lalita SAHASRANAMA. We'll talk about Lalita SAHASRANAMA. I think there is a book that you are writing and it is coming up. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk specifically about Sri Yantra, and also a little bit of Tantra and the scholarly aspect of Tantra. Where do we stand in terms of that? So that's what we are going to do today.
Sounds good. I'm excited.
So, yeah, let's talk about Lalita Sahasranama. I want to know there are many people who chant it regularly every day and in the temples, right? I also see a lot of my own aunts. They go to the temple and they have this 1.5 hour period that they have to chant between the pujas that they do, and they also do it at home. So I want to know what is Lalita Sahasranama, the origins of it, the history of it, who wrote it, and why is it so important that everybody is chanting it, and what are the benefits of chanting it, everything, right? Yeah, so the mic is yours.
Lalita Tripura Sundari can be seen in various forms. In the 4-dimensional form is the iconography that you see her perhaps as a murti or in a photograph, where you see her as having length, breadth, width, and her femininity.
Okay.
So that's the 4-dimensional version. Then there's the 3-dimensional version where we see her as the Mahameru. She sits atop the Bindu, and she, in her, we see a culmination and the coming together of Shiva and Shakti. In the 2-dimensional version, which is the Bhrupastara, which can be on a copper sheet or on a gold sheet or even just on plain paper. And in the 1-dimensional version, we see her as mantra. Now, mantra can either be in the form of a japa, which does not need to be articulated. It can just be a mental something that you can just chant in your own mind space, or it can be a stotra. Now, japas are typically smaller, shorter bija mantras, and the stotras are what describe the Devi. And the Lalita Sahasranama is, I think, of the 3 most important Sahasranamas that we know of. The Vishnu Sahasranama, which also is another beautiful poetic rendition. The lesser known Shiva Sahasranama. And then, of course, we have, like you rightly said, the ubiquitous Lalita Sahasranama, especially in the south. All of us know it well. And in a way, it brings womanhood together.
Yeah.
It gives them a channel to come out of their homes, because typically, even in rural setups or in semi-urban setups, women don't have an opportunity to step out. But the Lalita Sahasranama actually is a tool of empowerment, if you ask me, because it brings women together.
Yeah.
And what is it? What is a stotra?
Yeah.
A stotra is typically a string of namas. A nama meaning a name, which it's a litany. It's like bringing together all the attributes and mentioning what all the Devi is capable of, what is her form, what are the shapes that she takes, and what is it that people can worship her as, and what can you expect. So Lalita Sahasranama can be divided into the Purva Bhaga, which just describes the history of how it came into being. Then there is the Madhyama Bhaga, which is the 1,000 names, which is Sahasra. Actually, Sahasra we should not limit to 1,000, because Sahasra means infinite.
Yeah.
So even though it's 1,000 names, what she can do is infinite. What she is capable of, her name, form, her power is infinite. And then there is the final version, which is like the part where it's the Falashruti, right? Which explains what are the benefits of chanting the Lalita Sahasranama.
Okay.
Now coming to the history,
Yeah.
the Puranas and all of that give us the story of, the story of Shiva and Sati, and when Sati goes, back to Daksha when he's doing the yagya, and Shiva doesn't want her to go. And when she goes there, she feels humiliated by the fact that her father has not invited the son-in-law, and so she jumps into the sacrificial fire. And Shiva is enraged, and he goes there and he grabs Sati's dead body and starts doing the Tandava. And at that time, Vishnu has no choice but to let the Sudarshana Chakra go and, break up the body of Sati so that Shiva can come to terms with the loss. And the body breaks into various parts and falls in different places, which then become the Shakti Peethas. Now, that's a very commonly known story. What happens after that is Shiva is very remorseful for his behavior. He realizes that his behavior was not the best, and he goes into a very deep penance.
Okay.
And when he goes into a penance, the entire the world is saddened because they need Shiva. They need his presence to keep alive, the entire concept of creation and all of that. So then they start making a plan that somehow they have to get Shiva out of the penance. So that's when they ask Parvati to come back again and approach him. And Manmatha is also there, trying to play Cupid. And he's actually not trying to do any damage, but Shiva sees him from the corner of his eye, and he is so angered. He just destroys him. He burns Manmatha. And just then Parvati also makes her appearance. So all of this is happening simultaneously. And when Shiva burns Manmatha, it means that all of the desire of the world comes to an end. So then all the gods come together and realize that we can't go on like this. We need some desire to keep us going. Life will not happen otherwise. And that's when they do this yagna. And from that yagna comes out Lalita Tripura Sundari.
Okay.
So that
is her origin.
Emergence.
Okay.
That is what they talk about as Chidagni Kunda Sambhuta Devakara Samudyata, right?
Okay.
So she comes in from the Agni of this beautiful yagna which is taking place. And as she emerges, she also makes the world realize that here is a beauty who needs to be acknowledged. And then she comes into being, and then the world is back again, and everyone goes back to their own ways. All the gods and the Asuras, they go about their own, and they forget about her. Which is when she says to the Vag Devis, that write about me in such a way that all these people will remember me again.
Who are the Vag Devis?
The Vag Devis are the 8 goddesses who are in charge of Vak.
Okay. The speech.
The speech.
Okay.
And of course in Sanatana, speech is Vak has different meanings and different layers. So, it starts with para, which is like the most transcendent level, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and then Vaikhari. So, the 8 Vagdevis then actually sit down at the instruction of Lalita Tripura Sundari herself and then write the Lalita Sahasranama.
Okay.
Naming her attributes. Then they present this in front of all of the gods.
Okay.
And then the gods come to the realization that actually we owe her a lot.
Okay.
We have forgotten about her, but now it's a reminder. And from then it becomes like a habit for all of them to start chanting. So it is said even the gods chant the Lalita Sahasranama.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So the Vagdevis are the composers of Lalita Sahasranama, if I can.
The only Sahasranama which is actually composed by the Vagdevis themselves, because the others were written by Vedavyasa, whether it was Vishnu Sahasranama, which was in the Mahabharata, and also the Shiva Sahasranama appears in the Mahabharata. So those were written by Vedavyasa, but Lalita Sahasranama does not appear in the Mahabharata. And little more about the history is that it was Hayagriva so there are 2 ways of approaching Hayagriva. One is that he is a form of Lord Vishnu himself. But the Hayagriva that we talk of in the Lalita Sahasranama is not Vishnu as Lord Hayagriva. It is Vishnu taking the form of Rishi Hayagriva to give the knowledge of Lalita to sage Agasthyar.
Okay.
So Agasthyar is a very ardent devotee of Lalita, and he asks Vishnu to give him that information. So Vishnu says, I cannot give you the information myself, but I will manifest a sage with the same name, Hayagriva, who will share that. As a rishi, he will share that knowledge and that information with you. So that's how sage Hayagriva gives the information to sage Agasthyar.
Okay.
The Lalita Sahasranama to both Agastya and Lopamudra.
Okay.
And so that is how that information came down to us.
Okay.
The Lalita Sahasranama came down to us.
So if I understand it right, the Vagdevis first
they composed
it.
Yes.
And then Vishnu gave it as a manifest of Hayagriva to Agastya.
That's correct.
Right? And from Agastya came down to humans.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
Okay, that's nice. So I'm sure, everybody in the South understands what is Lalita Sahasranama and what does it contain. But for the sake of people who are very new to what is Lalita Sahasranama, like you already said, these are the 1,000 names of the Ma Lalita, right? Do you want to talk about a few of those names? What does it entail? What does it actually say? What does the Namavali actually say? Do you want to touch upon that?
Surely. And before that, let's just understand that names 1 to 111 till Bisatantu Taniyasi, starting from Sri Mata till Bisatantu Taniyasi, are the actual names given. Okay, which describe her form, her appearance, her qualities, what she does for her devotees and all of that. And from 112 till the 1,000th name, the rest are all merely descriptions of these same 111 names.
Okay.
So these first 111 names are extremely crucial.
Okay.
Because
those are the core.
The core.
Okay.
Yes.
And the rest 900 are the descriptions of these 100.
Almost like a commentary can say
okay.
on the first 111 names.
Okay, nice.
And we also have to understand that there is, before we go into what we were speaking about as the Madhyama, right? There is all the descriptions which are the dhyana. There are 4 dhyana shlokas which describe the Devi's form even before we go into the Namavali. So it starts with Sindura Aruna Vigraha, and so basically trying to explain to someone who is going to chant how they should visualize the goddess while they are chanting the Namavali. So these are again written by different, I think one is ascribed to Dattatreya. The third uh, narration or the description, nobody knows where it came from. The last one is attributed to Adi Shankaracharya.
Okay.
And the first one, they say that even that is a little shrouded in mystery. But all of these together gives us a very good idea of what to expect even before we go into the Namavali.
Okay.
Right? So even before we chant, we always start with Om, Aim, Hreem, Shreem. Right? And then we start, because those are the Bija mantras which stand for Mata.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first of the namas is Shri Mata.
Okay.
Okay. So Shri Mata says everything in a way, because she is the mother of everything. Shri means abundance. And so she is the mother of abundance itself. And Mata meaning that she is the mother, like if you talk of Lalita Tripura Sundari, Tripura, the word is very important, and it also has context in terms of Shri Mata itself, because she is the mother of all the triads that exist in Sanatana.
Yeah.
So that's of the three states of waking, dreaming, sleeping, of past, present, future, of all the things that we have come to understand, even including Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Okay, Bhur-Bhuva, Swaha, and all of that.
Yeah, the creation, prevention.
Yeah, creation.
Dissolution.
Yeah,
right.
Preservation and dissolution.
Yeah.
And then the second name is, so when we chant, it's also, we have to mention here that it is in the chandas, the rhythm of Anushtu.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a certain way, there is a certain way of chanting it.
Yeah.
And I think one request I have to make to everyone is don't just rush through it. Because I see that with many people, they say we want to finish it in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And
I was having that question. I'll come to that. Yeah, but you go on.
There's, I think, more important to do it with devotion and to actually visualize it. So for that, in order for that, you should also know a little bit of the meaning. That also becomes very crucial, because then it aids, it supports the entire practice.
Right.
So Shri Mata, Shri Maharagni, Srimat Simhasaneshwari. So these are the first three names which kind of cover the entire spectrum of what she's capable of doing.
Yeah, she sets the context.
Yeah, the tone is set, and she is unparalleled in the universe. And the fact that she's said, the word Simha is used, means it gives her, the kind of power which we only associate with a lion or a lioness, and which in a way also gives her the power over the entire animal kingdom.
Yeah.
And Shri Maharagni meaning, it's never to be seen as she's an empress who is sitting beside an emperor, right? She herself is such a powerful personification that she doesn't need like a male embodiment. So those three words kind of set the tone for the rest of it. And then the next lines are Chidagni Kunda Sambhuta Devakarya Samudhyata, which we were talking about, her origin. And also when you talk of Chidagni, she rose from consciousness itself, from the fire of consciousness.
Right.
And Devakarya Samudhyata, she came to the rescue of even the gods. So these first 5 lines kind of set the tone of what is to come. And from there, it becomes a description of her physicality, of how beautiful she is.
Okay. So I have multiple questions here. Let me get back to what you said.
Sure.
The thing is about the speed at which I have heard people chant it.
Right.
And also the pronunciations of it. Because the speed is like how you said, that people give some time. Especially the temple authorities say, okay, you guys have 20 minutes or 30 minutes time. And women in general have gotten used to that kind of speed that even if they chant it normally, they'll just like a LMG gun or something. They just shoot it that you don't even understand what are they saying, and it has. I feel that it's supposed to be a melody, right? I have heard even the melodious version also, but most of the times in the temples and in homes it becomes like a almost not pleasant to the ear, right? But people do that continuously. They keep doing that. That's one. The other one is pronunciation. Pronunciation is because, let's say, even in the south, in Kerala, in Tamil Nadu, in Kannada, the pronunciation differs because of the accent. Right. For example, Sri Mata becomes Sri Mada. Right. It's because of the mother tongue influence.
True.
Right. And not no knowledge of Sanskrit, the proper Sanskrit which is there. So many pronunciation becomes like a terrible thing to hear. What is that person saying? So all these things, is that okay? Or I mean, I'm sure mother will right take everything, but as a proper way of doing it, what is your opinion?
Okay, so your first question about the chanting being like a melody. I do not subscribe to any of the mantras being set to music, because I think that's extremely wrong. The mantras have a certain chandas, a certain rhythm. It's like what happened with Anuradha Podwal and Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. Now when people chant Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha, they always sing it, which is wrong. In my little knowledge, in my limited knowledge, it is set to a certain rhythm. The laya has to be followed. And so I would differ from you that the Lalita Sahasranama in itself is immensely melodic.
No, so what I meant is the Anushtup Chandas itself, that itself is melodious.
Yes, it
so
is.
The women whom I listen to, they might follow the 32 syllable thing, but it's not really melodious, is what I'm saying, because they go fast and all those things, right? That's what I meant.
I know what you mean now. They are not following the meter of the Anushtup.
Correct.
So then when you follow the meter, it becomes absolutely mellifluous. It's something that you want to continue to listen to all the time. I agree with you there on that, and it's very, very important. Like even when you, for example, just to deviate a little bit, with the Nirvana Shatakam, that is what is called a balaka, the rhythm. So that has a very different calming effect. And with Anushtup Chanda, which I think even Vishnu Sahasranama is Anushtup. So there's a certain mellifluousness which, it brings out the poetic nature of the words itself. So it's important to focus very much on the meter. And this, talking about languages, T.S. Ranganathan, he's a Tamilian, but his pronunciation of Sanskrit, every single word is on point. And it's very important to make sure the pronunciation is correct. Because in simple words like Mata, it's okay, but when words like Kiri Chakra Ratha, so when you make it Giri Chakra Ratha, the entire meaning changes. And the vibration of Kiri is very different from the vibration of Giri. If you notice, right? And then you're changing the entire tone. And whatever, see, everything said, these are all vibratory in nature. And it's important to ensure that we learn it as best as we can. Making small mistakes here and there is okay once in a while, but I think when this is why many people have said we should be initiated, we should learn from a guru. It is to avoid these pitfalls.
And that I also see that because Sanskritam or Sanskrit is a very scientific language. The Varnamala uses various aspects of the throat, from where the words come, from the lip or from the tongue.
Yes.
Or all these things are actually defined, right?
Right.
And the Varnamala itself are seed sounds of the Devi. Bija mantras, right? So if you don't pronounce them in the correct way, it doesn't make any effect on the chant itself, is what I understand. Is that correct?
Also, because the Lalita Sahasranama has a lot of hidden Bija mantras. And a lot of work is happening even as we chant it at our chakras. Because there is a lot of talk in the Lalita Sahasranama itself about the granthis, the chakras, and it also helps to awaken the kundalini. So all the more reason why we have to be very proficient in the pronunciation. There's really no room for error. Especially if you are a very sincere and devout sadhaka, it becomes imperative that we learn the correct pronunciation and also understand the meaning. The esoteric meaning. It's one thing to just understand overall, but to see what was meant by every single line and every single attribute of the Devi.
So the other question that I had was, now under Sri Vidya is what Lalita Sahasranama, Sri Vidya practitioners are the ones who actually actively chant it, and not just Sri Vidya practitioners, people otherwise also practice. But in general, it follows, I mean, Sri Vidya heavily propagates the philosophy of Advaita. Right? Which is everything is me, right? Aham Brahmasmi or Tattvamasi, that I am that. Or this is Aham Brahmasmi, that I am the Brahman. Or Tattvamasi is Tattvamasi, I am that. Right? So these are the Mahavakyas of the Upanishads, right? So now, when you say Lalita Sahasranamam, the first 100 things are talking about the forms of the goddess. Now, why is that? Now it becomes like there is a goddess, there is a devotee. Now it becomes dual, right? So now there is I find that there is a contradiction. Now you are saying that everything is you. Now why that distinction of me and there's a goddess, and then I am describing the goddess types. So why is that there?
Okay. So, while non-duality as a concept is something which is difficult to already comprehend, I think the idea in Tantra is that you start with something which is very easy to understand, and then you bring it and make it inward. So even with Devi, for that matter, we start with the 4-dimensional version. By the time it becomes unidimensional, it has to become one with our breath. So it is only as a process of simplification. There is no dichotomy there.
Okay.
So when we talk of non-duality, the Lalita Sahasranama in a way is only trying to make us understand that our body and mind, they are both temples in which the divine consciousness resides. So there's only one still.
Okay.
Because we've reduced the 4-dimension to the 1-dimension. Okay. And where is the home of that 1-dimension? It is within you. It is within the Hridaya Guha.
Okay. So it's a journey from non-dualistic to become one, right? Non-dual from
dualism
from Dvaita to Advaita.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So in traversing that path, there will always be these questions. But I think there is a very beautiful example in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad where it is said that there is one sun and you line up 1,000 buckets and you see the, the reflection of the sun in all these buckets.
Nice.
Right? So then the sun in the bucket starts to think it is a sun in itself. It's like how our egos start to think we are all of our own suns, when all we are is a reflection of that one sun.
Nice. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that is what Advaita is all about.
Okay.
That there is really no non-duality. It's all just one.
One. That's
And
nice.
in today's day and age, where there is so much polarization, where there is so much discourse on various religions and each one fighting for the paramount importance of their own religion,
Yeah.
Advaita carries a very strong message
Mm.
that we are all the same, we are all one,
Mm.
and we have to somehow make place for everything. Because eventually we are all a reflection of that same divine consciousness.
Mm. Mm. Interesting. I mean, that story itself makes it easy to sort of understand everything that, the sun's reflection is what are there in the buckets. It's
Right.
so easy to sort of understand that.
But it's our ego which makes us feel that we ourselves are the sun.
Yeah.
Forgetting for a moment that it's just a mere reflection. Our souls, our Atman is just a small part of the Paramatma.
Yeah.
And we take this form as a Jivatma because we want to go through these experiences, and Tantra explains it beautifully that everything that exists is divine. That's why in Tantra there is no taboo, there is no substance, there is nothing which is not divine.
Right.
So if you look at a Matangi, for example, Uchishta Matangi, so we know that in our culture, anything which is left over is called Uchishta. You can't, it's something which doesn't have a space in our everyday lives.
Yeah.
But she comes and turns this on its head, and she says, only offer me your leftovers.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's what Tantra came into being, to, put all these social taboos away and say, whatever you do, just be on the spiritual path and you will find solace there. And you will eventually find moksha there.
Right. I mean that ties into the whatever I was thinking, that we were talking about the pronunciation and the speed at which people say, but I also think that because they have a little bit of bhakti in them,
Yes.
if they do it with bhakti, whatever they are doing as mistakes, although the pronunciations are going wrong and all that, it has that effect on that mantra shakti it does happen, right?
True. See, the thing is, out of the 1,000 names, you're pronouncing at least 994 or 93 correctly.
Yeah.
So you're getting the anugraha for that.
Yeah.
Okay. But the thing is, that's not the point. We are not doing it with any intention in mind. But if you really want to make the best of it, to create the aura, the energy that you feel will uplift you, then it's better to get all the 1,000 correct. It's
Yeah.
like you can get 95 marks and be happy with it, or you can get 100 marks and feel even more elated.
Right. Yeah. Do you want to talk about your book that is coming on the Lalita Sahasranama?
Oh, I've been struggling with it quite a bit.
Okay.
And I want to share a very interesting story with
Sure.
you.
Yeah.
After my podcast with you, there was a lady who called me from overseas. She actually emailed me, and I tried to avoid taking her call, but she was very persistent. And eventually I gave in and I said, let me just talk to her. And she said, I have a message from the spirits for you.
Okay.
And I was quite taken aback. She's a channel, she's like a medium, not Indian. She lives on one of these islands somewhere in Papua New Guinea or something.
Okay.
And she said, I have 3 messages for you from the spirits. And the first message, she said, was that you're having great difficulty with this book. You're going through a writer's block. The spirits want me to tell you that just stay with it. This will be your magnum opus.
Okay.
The second message was that this book will not be completed until you go and visit her in Kanchipuram. She's
Okay.
waiting for you there.
Okay. And did you visit?
I haven't.
Okay.
I think the time is not right yet.
Are you planning now?
No.
No.
You know how my schedule is. I'm constantly traveling
Okay.
and, with such a busy time. It will happen when it's meant to happen. I think that's one thing I've come to understand.
Okay. And what's the third
The
thing?
third one was, something of a personal nature, which I didn't pay too much attention to. But it was so surprising that there is someone sitting so far away And she channels this message and tells me that you're having difficulty writing this book.
Wow.
So I think now...
So one is happening.
Mm-hmm.
The one because you're staying with it.
Right.
Third one must be personal. Did that happen?
It was just as a way of advice. It
Way
was,
of advice.
yeah.
Okay.
She was just, I think, trying. But the funny thing was, she was so persistent in trying to reach me.
Yeah.
So I thought perhaps, this might not be the end of it. But the moment she gave me the messages, she has not attempted to get in touch with me. So I believe somehow that she really had this calling. To give me these messages.
Yeah.
So I think now when I go back, I will work sincerely on the book.
Nice.
And also, I think there's a bit of a, there was a lot of negativity from many people in my first circle who said, you will never be able to finish this book because you're impure in Kaya, Manasa and Vacha.
Okay.
It was meant as an insult perhaps, but I take it positively and I will use this insult which has come at me, and I will complete the book because this person went on to say even Adi Shankaracharya couldn't write about Lalita Sahasranama. Who do you think you are? So
okay.
I'm putting this on record. So I hope to complete the book because everything which comes, even all the negativity, all the nastiness, all the trolling which I've had for saying that you don't need a guru, it's all showing me a path. It's all telling me, you know what, just go on this path and see where it takes you. Because while all this trolling is happening, there are hundreds of people who've also benefited, who've, taken initiation, who also finished their Bala mantra, they've moved on to the Mahaganapati mantra, and the mails that they share with me, telling me about these small miracles and the changes that they're seeing, the transformation, the positive developments that they're seeing. So that is so heartwarming.
Yeah, definitely.
And
I'm seeing so many people, the commenters who did comment on the YouTube. They are so intrigued and enamored by your presence, right? They relate to you so much than many others who they have at their disposal. That's because the resonation or you resonate with them more, right? So that is because you are open to receiving many things and also giving out information. It's not like you are rigid.
I think my path, I have been chosen to share this knowledge.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hold anything back.
Yeah.
Even when I'm writing about the Lalita Sahasranama, there are so many things where people can misuse it because it's so powerful. When you look at the esoteric meaning, I ask myself, is this the reason why I'm not able to complete the book? Is it because she in some way does not want this information to reach, common knowledge? So there's always that little battle going on inside of me as to how much of this information should I share. And then the deeper you go, the more you realize how little you know. And in psychology, it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's I find this very fascinating because if you've been to the South Pole and you've been there for about 6 months, and I've just seen a Netflix documentary, who do you think will speak with more conviction about the experience? It would be the person who saw the Netflix documentary, because you've been there, you know how much you don't know.
Correct.
But the person who saw the documentary thinks he knows it all. Right? So that's what's happening to me, because in learning more and more, I realize how little I know. And that sometimes can be a little intimidating. And you feel like, okay, now how do I stop? At which point should I stop with this knowledge?
Right. Let's talk about the benefits of chanting Lalita Sahasranama. What are they?
In the Falashruti, it is said that even chanting it one time in your life guarantees that you will wash off a lot of the karmas of this lifetime.
Even once?
Even once, just once.
Wow.
And so that is why I feel there is a lot of hope for all of us, especially all the women. Not only are they doing it for their own good, it brings about like a cascading effect for their entire families, for the communities. And, there's a certain calmness which comes with it.
Yeah.
Now, what are the direct benefits you can expect? One is, of course, material benefits. That you kind of start manifesting more of the material desires, because she is the giver of all that which you seek, of all kinds of abundance, not just material, not just money, not just, in every aspect of life, in relationships, in joy, bliss, all of that. And also the Lalita Sahasranama, for people who are struggling with life-threatening illnesses, or where there've been accidents and you're praying for the well-being of someone. This is a very powerful prayer to use.
Okay.
It says even in the Falashruti that it can keep, death which is not timely, untimely death can be kept at bay.
Okay.
And even for small children, if they're suffering from high fevers, they say that chanting the Lalita Sahasranama in their presence can bring down the fevers.
Okay.
So there are so many things that in every aspect of life you can benefit, whether it's from the health perspective, from well-being. And there is also something called the Samputi Karana, which you can use specifically to resolve your issues. So if there is someone who's having fertility issues, then there are some lines of the Lalita Sahasranama which can help specifically with that. For someone who's struggling, they want to get married but they're unable to find a partner. So there is a solution in the Lalita Sahasranama for any of the problems that one is facing.
Okay.
One just needs to speak to an expert and know which lines those are, and then possibly focus more on those lines than the others.
Okay. So if I can chant only those lines, will that also work, or should it be all the time 1,000, or can I just focus only on?
You can be focused on those lines.
Okay.
In what is called the Samputi Karana form.
Okay.
Right?
Samputi Karana meaning it is like I extract that.
That's correct.
Lines
and
from
then
them?
make it like a Namavali.
Oh, okay.
And then chant it.
I can do that also.
So that's the beauty of the Lalita Sahasranama. Each Nama is a mantra in itself.
Okay.
So there is a specific mantra for whatever is afflicting you at that particular moment.
Oh, okay.
So if there is an issue with your Graha Gati, then there is a certain way of handling that. If you find a certain chakra blockage, then there's a way of doing that. So it's like a panacea. It holds all the solutions.
Okay. So that means I can extract that, and let's say if I want to chant it like 11 times, 21 times, 108 times, I can still do that.
Yes.
Okay. It need not be all the.
You don't need to chant the entire Namavali.
Okay.
You can just pick whatever suits your requirement and do it like a sadhana. And you do a sankalpa and you say, I will do it for 108 days and this is the result that I expect. And then that will also be very beneficial.
You set an intention, you take that part of the mantra.
Correct.
And you chant in a certain time and at a certain number.
Yes.
Right? And
whatever sankalpa you set for yourself.
Correct.
If you say, I will chant this 108 times for a certain number of days, for example. Typically 108 times works because the intention gets set more firmly.
And this is the mantra that doesn't require initiation.
No.
By
Because it's a prasiddha mantra. It's something which you can do comfortably without having to worry. Because first of all, it's a stotra. You've taken it from a stotra. It's not a bija mantra. So there can be no ill effects as such. And then also because you're ascribing some value to it by giving it a sankalpa and doing it in a certain fashion.
Okay.
It will definitely be very, very useful.
Is there a specific time or the time of the day that you may want to do it? Is that?
See, typically Sri Vidya sadhana is very closely associated with the moon.
Okay.
So, my personal belief is the mantra chanting for Sri Vidya has to be done after moonrise.
Okay.
It's always far more beneficial.
Okay.
Like even with Khadgamala, the best time to chant it is 8 p.m. On the dot.
Okay.
Because there is a certain energy which it kind of gives rise to when it's chanted at 8 p.m. So Lalita Sahasranama, particularly on a full moon day, is immensely powerful.
Okay.
And if you can do it in the line of sight of the moon. Then nothing
which
like
is
it.
like outdoors and
Outdoors, if you can, and also to one other way of doing it, if you want other people to benefit from your chanting, keep a glass of water and chant it in the presence of that water, and then give it as tirtha to everyone.
Okay.
See, because that's how even in the temple the tirtha works.
Right.
So this is exactly
you energize
the same.
the water. Okay.
So everyone can benefit from your chanting.
Right. And that's what happens when group chanting also happens, right?
Yes.
When the energy is more. That's why in the temples the energy of the goddess.
It is amazing. It is all the kirtans which happen, the bhajans, all of that. It may not necessarily only be Lalita Sahasranama, but all of these, they bring about a certain change, a shift in the entire energy of the place itself. And with Lalita Sahasranama, I think the mellifluousness just adds to a point where I know of many people who are addicted to it. They cannot live without chanting it.
It
Because
becomes a habit.
It's also rewiring the brain, perhaps, and it gives you a little bit of the dopamine rush.
Yeah.
If you have to look at it from a very scientific perspective.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is invaluable.
So, okay, I think on that note, let's move on to the next segment of the podcast. This was actually really,
Although we haven't really done justice to the Lalita Sahasranama, because we've only just started. But at another point of time, perhaps we can go into greater detail.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure your book is on the way.
Yes.
When the book releases, we'll have a more
Surely we will do that.
detailed version of that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the next one.
Thank you so much.